ahead. Ready? Good evening, everybody. I want to welcome you all to our April 29th board meeting of the Clay County Board of Education. We'll go ahead and get everything started this evening, and we'll begin with Mr. Josh Ash leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Josh. And Mr. Caldwell, would you mind reading the Clay County Schools mission statement, please?
The mission of Clay County Schools is to build high-quality learning environments that ensure all students learn at high levels.
Thank you. And the announcement there, that should read that the next regular meeting is May the 19th, and that's a week earlier than normal because of Memorial Day weekend. So it'll be May 19th at 6 o'clock here in the boardroom. And on the agenda, there is one item that we need to change before approving the agenda. We need to add a 7B on the recognition section, and that will be for the high school wrestling. Coach Kobe White is here with his high school wrestling team. So. And with that change, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the agenda.
Make a motion.
This motion, is there a second? Mr. Caldwell, second. All in favor? Thank you. And was there any public comment, Shelley? No? Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and move right into recognitions, and we'll start with Skills USA recognition and Mr. Stacy Overwood.
Good evening, Clay County. I'm here tonight to talk about Skills USA and to introduce a couple of Hayesville High School students. So Mr. Byers was not able to make it tonight. I pretty much know where the gas goes and where the air goes in the tires on my car. So I'm not, very proficient with automotive things, but I will tell you a little bit about Skills USA. This is one of the leading organizations for workforce development in America. It has almost 400,000 members from middle schools, high schools, and colleges. The mission of Skills USA is to empower students to become skilled professionals, career-ready leaders, and responsible community members. They integrate in their curriculum personal, workplace, and technical skills, and they help students hone their abilities in more than 130 different occupational areas, including our highlight tonight, which is automotive technology. So if I could get Aaron and Jacob to come on up, please. All right. Aaron, you can stand right here. Jacob, you can stand. Yeah, either side. There you go, like bodyguards. So first I'll talk about Jacob. This is Andrew Wood. He goes by Jacob. I know him as Jacob. He earned third place in the automotive tool identification category, and this showcased a strong work ethic and technical proficiency in identifying tools. Now, when I say third place, okay, we're talking about statewide, mountains to ocean, North Carolina. So that's a pretty big deal. So I'd like to give Jacob a round. And then Aaron, who's here on my left, actually finished first place statewide in the same category, auto tool identification. Aaron Youngberg. So we're really proud of these two young men. Mr. Byers wrote a couple of notes, but one thing that jumped out at me that I wanted to be sure to share with you is that in their preparation for this, they actually developed their own digital tools to help them study. So these two guys put in a lot of work, a lot of hours, a lot of dedication, and they represented Clay County schools and Hayesville High School really, really well at the Skills USA. So do you guys want to say anything? Okay, pictures then. Congratulations, guys. Come on over here. You guys stand in the front and face this way.
Yeah, we go.
Ms. Jones is going to take your picture next time.
Bobby's got one too.
Okay.
All right, get your hands out. There you go.
Just go down to small kids.
This way, right?
Go.
Smile. Smile.
Good job, guys. Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. Next, we have the high school wrestling, Mr. Kobe White. I should say Coach Kobe White.
You might want to send them as president.
Sorry, it was hard to keep them quiet out there. Thank y'all for letting me talk on such short late notice. The men's and women's wrestling teams at Hayesville High School had very successful years. Overall, we had a record of 17-7. The men were the conference runners-up in both dual team, which is head-to-head against a team, and at the individual tournament, which runs more like a track meet where you're competing against everybody there. You'll also see, Mason, hold it up. We went to Murphy High School and won a belt from them. Franklin, they were so nice to hand to us, and we plan on winning it again next year in our gym. So please make plans to come in January and see us beat Murphy and Franklin again. The women at the conference tournament and as a team, we placed fourth as a team and third individually. Some individual accolades. When I say your name, wrestlers, step forward, wave, and smile. All conference, Smoky Mountain Conference, we have Parker Hughes. All conference honorable mention, receiving second place or third place in the conference, we have Jameson Dawson. Patrick Denton. Andrew Reynolds. Robert Manning. Not with us because he is currently at his job at Raylan Martinez. Also not with us because they are at jobs or could not make it tonight are Maddie Graves and Piper Ledford. And finally with us, Farrah Ammons and Amelia Manning. Yep, and finally two accolades that both go together to stand out. We had 2 state qualifiers, which in other sports terms means all Western North Carolina and all state honorable mention. Concurrently are both Mason Ray and Andrew Reynolds. Clay County has every reason in the world to be proud of their wrestlers. They performed very well this season. I believe we are losing 2 seniors between the men's and women's team. Expect big things. Expect us to keep hold of that belt right there and expect us to chase down people that beat us this year.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Children, they want your picture, not mine.
Come on.
This right here will be going around.
Just pile in here close.
Turn around.
Turn around, face. Yep.
Scoot back a little.
Scoot back.
There you go. Oh, I had a spot. I lost it.
Thank y'all.
Congratulations. And we'll go ahead and as we move into the report section, I forgot to mention, obviously Ms. Crawford's not here this evening. She had a family obligation and couldn't be here this evening. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. And we'll start with our report section and Ms. Ravonda Palmer with our CTE internships.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ravonda Palmer, the CT Director, and I am glad to say that we had 6 students participate in our internship program this semester. We had Jesus Martinez, we had Norshay Patterson, Kayla Brown, Leah Thomas, and E.J. Abrams, and Michael Calandria could not be with us, and neither can Jesus. But we're going to start with Mr. E.J. Abrams, and he's going to tell you about his experience at Jackie Jones Ford.
My name is E.J. Abrams. I work at Jackie Jones for my internship. my internship is 4th block, so I leave during lunch. I get there around like 1:40 sometimes, usually. I leave at like 5. When I'm there, I'm basically like the shop maid, you could say. Not really though. I have a nickname. They call me Pockets because my hands are always in my pockets. But whoever calls me Pockets, I go to help. Basically like changing tires, rotating them, changing oil, taking filters off, changing filters. I pull cars in and out for them when they ask me to. I clean bays a lot. That's a pain in the butt. I clean up the shop for them. I basically just oil changes, tire changes, stuff like that. That's what I do. That's all I got.
Is there anything you like particularly?
I like working, so it keeps me busy. It's like non-stop busy, so it's definitely fun.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
North Shade, you want to go next? Tell me where you did your internship.
So I'm Norcia Patterson, and I did my internship at Clay County Progress. I started in December when Becky approached me about an internship, and so since then I've been covering mainly middle school and high school sports, which if anyone knows me, it's been an adjustment because I don't understand sports. So writing about those was definitely challenging, learning to read like the stats. I love stats, but those kind of stats are kind of hard to read, especially baseball and softball. I've also done street talk where I've gone out in the community and asked a question. I did one street talk back in February that was just high schoolers. And if y'all know how it is to get a high schooler to answer a question for you, it was like pulling teeth. And then I just did one that will come out this week in the actual community where I went out to Ingalls and other places and asked the question of the week, which was also challenging because one, approaching people is nerve-wracking. What else have I done? I've had a lot of fun, like, being there with the sports, though, because it really reminded me of our Hayesville sports community. It's fun to be back in that, because it's just fun. I did just start driving in October, and then I had to drive to Swain for the first time by myself one night. So that was probably the most nerve-wracking thing of my internship was driving. Can successfully say I can get to Murphy now and back.
Yes.
So, I think that's all.
Good.
So, my name is Leah Thomas. I did my internship at Lake Chatuke Animal Hospital. On a typical day, I leave school around 9:16, get to my internship at like 9:30. Once I get there, I just jump in. This includes getting patients prepped and ready for surgery, helping with exams, restraining and holding patients, cleaning instruments, and many more things. In healthcare, every day consists of something different, which means each day is a new learning opportunity. The staff at Lake Chatuke Animal Hospital helped me learn skills that I will be able to use for the rest of my life. I'll forever be grateful for the warm and welcoming environment at this hospital that helped me learn so much. Some of the skills I have learned are wrapping surgical packs, holding and restraining, taking TPR, which is temperature, pulse, and respiration, giving shots, putting in an IV catheter, drawing blood for heartworm tests, pulling up vaccines, cleaning ears, and so much more. One of the hardest aspects of this job is dealing with sick, injured, or euthanized animals. It can be emotionally taxing when animals are in pain or when you see them get put down. Another challenge is a fast-paced environment. Keeping up with the pace while ensuring that you're performing your task correctly can be a challenge. Overall, my internship has helped me gain so much knowledge, and I would recommend it to anyone interested in this field. I got to see a lot of surgeries, which was really cool. One that stuck with me was a cat came in, it got ran over, and its leg was like completely backwards, so we did have to amputate it. And I got to like hold the leg while the doctor cut it off. Sorry, that's kind of gruesome, but. Thank you. My name is Kayla Brown, and I've been doing an internship at Hometown Healthcare with Lene Cheeks and Katie Whiteford, and Katie did come today. I've learned so much being there, and I've really got to see how a medical office is really ran, and I've learned how to interact with people and patients, and I've gotten to learn how to like work them up, take vitals and everything, and figure out what the reason for their visit is. I learned how to properly do blood pressure, test patients for illnesses such as strep flu and COVID, and I've also learned how to do EKGs and draw blood. I just have not been able to do this because I'm not certified in anything yet. This has been an amazing experience, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I would recommend it to anybody that's interested in healthcare, because you really get like a feel of what it's actually like instead of just what you think it is. The grossest thing I've seen was probably watching Lene take off a toenail. Oh. Because it had like a fungus in it. But I've gotten to watch Lene do some procedures, and I've gotten to go see how Katie does things, and I've gotten to see how the other medical assistants there do things. And yeah, I loved it. And it was a very welcoming environment. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Very good.
Thank you for letting our interns come and share their experiences with you tonight.
Thank you all.
Thank you. You guys come get a picture.
Picture, yeah.
How are you? Next, we have the HMS mock interview project, Ms. Shannon Hogsett.
Good evening.
Good evening, thank you.
So my name is Shannon Hogsett, and I'm a teacher at the middle school. And this kind of came about for my own son. He was talking about what he wanted to do when he graduated, and there was a million different ways he wanted to go. So it got me thinking about how to help the students I teach and what they could do after they, when they transition, not just to high school, but after that as well. So I went to Dr. Clapsaddle, and then I spoke to Ms. Godfrey, and I was like, can I, possibly do some mock interviews and have people come in and interview my students? So it kind of started with that. And so we did this right before spring break, and to prepare, I asked the students, we'll go to the next one, Adrian. I asked the students what they wanted to do when they grew up, and I only had 3 that knew. One wanted to be a physical therapist. One had taken the health occupation classes and was like really grossed out by the blood. So she's like, I want to work with animals and not humans. So she definitely knew that one. And the other one said that I will take over Tammy Dill's one day. So I think Tammy's got some competition in a few years. But with those students and the others, we worked with them doing questionnaires, interviews, some assessments, just kind of like asking them, do you want to wear a uniform? Do you want to work outside? Do you want to work with your hands? Do you want to work on computers? Do you want to teach? Some of the more common jobs and common questions you ask students. And some of them just really weren't sure what jobs were out there, so that's what we looked at. And the goal was just to identify their strengths, their preferences, and what they might be interested in. So, Adrian, put the next one. When I started this, I realized that the kids didn't even know their addresses and phone numbers because it's all on their phone, and they're like, I don't know, can I go get my phone? I'm like, no, we're gonna learn them. So that was the first step. We learned their address, phone number, and email address so they could put it on like job applications or resumes or whatever. Then we worked on the confidence building skills and making eye contact when you speak and smiling, and then the handshakes, not like being a wet noodle or like breaking your knuckles when you shake, and you shake with your right hand. So we worked on talking and how to speak to people, and then
when they give you feedback, just knowing if it's going to be like as positive or something you might want to work on, and how to accept that feedback. They worked on several things, and they worked on some resumes, and those were just simple skills. At this point, they don't really have a lot to put in there, but it was just professional summaries, kind of what their favorite classes are, then their education, some skills they have, and then just some interests they have. Then we went to a job application, and they were really stuck on the last question where it says, why would you be a good candidate for this job? I had one tell me that I probably wouldn't be. So I was like, well, let's figure out, what would make you a good candidate? What skills do you have? What strengths do you have? And so that was challenging for some, is to talk about their strengths, because they can tell you what they're not good at. But we wanted to encourage them to find out what they are good at and what they can be good at. So we went through a job application, and then the next slide. We practiced interview questions, and we gave these interview questions. Hillary Black is our TA at the middle school, and she and I asked the students these questions. Kind of tell me about yourself. What are your strengths? What's some challenges for you? What do you like to do outside of school? What are your goals? Why do you want this job? And why should we hire you? And do you have any questions? And we encouraged them to ask questions. Who would I be working with? Who would be my boss? What would the pay be? What would the hours be? Just so that they're really, the interviewer could know that they're certain and they want to know more about this job and they're interested. So to make sure they understood everything of what an interview could look like, Miss Hillary and I did some mock interviews between ourselves. And she was the interviewer and I was the employee going in. And we did two. The first one I walked in, it was crazy, actually. I had on, the ripped jeans, and I looked like a typical middle school, high school student. And my hair's all messed up, had my Starbucks in hand. I was late for the interview on purpose. And so I had the students rate me, and how well I did. And they got to use this rubric. And then the interview was just, it was crazy. So they were just like, their eyes were, looking at me. And so I stepped out once it was done, and they rated me. And Miss Hillary talked to them about how I could have been better, what could I have done differently. And so I came back in dressed more appropriately, professionally, and we did the interview again, just to give them a good visual of what it could look like, what it should not look like. And so then I kind of rallied the troops, and I asked some people in Clay County to be the interviewers for my students to have that same opportunity. And so I just want to give a shout out to these people. It was Melissa Godfrey, Tiffany Clapsaddle, Jill White, Mary Cothran, Jeannie Bethel, Angie Sevick, Amanda Wesson, Jonathan Lovingood, Greg Charles, Jordan Rudin, Aaron McCoy, and Amanda Danico. And these are some of the pictures from the slides. If I can see them back there. But we had a little snacks provided for them afterwards. But they had such a good time, and all of our students earned typically between a 13 and a 15, and a 15 was a perfect score. So I was so excited to do this with them, and I hope to be able to do this again in years to come. But if you'll just go to the last picture, that was just all of the students and then all the wonderful people here at the school that volunteered to help. So I just want to thank you for letting me share my experience and how much fun the students and I had doing this. But they really did learn a lot, and they're still talking about the interviews even after spring break. So I think it was a successful opportunity.
It was really fun to be a part of it. And I think the kids that sometimes don't have a lot of confidence, you could really see this being a confidence building experience for them. So it was really enjoyable to be part. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Great idea. Thank you. And next we have the superintendent's report.
Okay.
I'm going to start my report by just sharing some updates from the Hayesville Intermediate School project. So I have a couple of pictures to show you. What's really exciting about these is you can see that we're starting to get some height in our block work, and so for me that's been really exciting if you've driven by to see things going higher up. Those are stairwells. They'll be doing the stairwells and the elevator areas, and so that's what they've been working on. So that's been a fun thing to see change. But in general, some things that have been happening, they've started installing one of the sewer lines and tied into an existing manhole during spring break. They've been continuing with grading and fill dirt and placing 57 stone throughout the building. They have graded and placed base stone in the drive and parking area west of the Old Rock Gym. They've continued with pouring footings throughout the building. Most of Area C slab is ready to pour. The masonry crew has completed most of the stem walls and have started work on, as I said, the stairs at the far end of the building. The under slab plumbing has been completed in the kitchen in Area C. They have connected this building, the admin building, the middle school, and the gym to the new 8-inch water line. And the old 6-inch water line is now abandoned. The electricians have installed the under slab conduits leading to the electrical room. And electricians are working with masons and installing boxes and conduits within the masonry walls as they go up. The planned work for the rest of this month and in May is to continue installing sewer line A, starting on the retaining wall at the bus garage, installing the underslab plumbing in areas A and B, continue with fill dirt and 57 stone throughout the building, obviously continuing with the stairs and the elevator shaft, and start pouring building slabs. So it's been exciting to start seeing it kind of take shape and come together. We have had some rain days. We had 1.5 more days than expected in this last month. So, but they're working hard and they're taking advantage of every moment they can. We've had some rain and they're still out there doing what they can even in the rain. So I appreciate that. Just a few school updates. HPS hosted the first ever Donuts with Grown-Ups event that was sponsored by the PTO, and they welcomed over 400 parents and adults into the building throughout the week. It was a great engagement opportunity. HPS had a behavior specialist that does professional development. Her name is Amy Dean. She was in the building last week over a 2-day period. One HPS teacher said it was the best use of PD money we have ever had. So it was a very successful experience. HES hosted a science night in April and had over 200 participants, which was fantastic. At the middle school, I had recently shared that we applied for the Golden Leaf Grant. It's almost $400,000, and it focuses mainly on teacher training and mastery of skills. We found out we made it to Tier 2 of that grant process, which means we got an interview, which we were really pleased with. We had that interview this past Monday, a week ago, and we won't know anything until the state board meeting in June. So it's hurry up and wait, but we were excited to get an interview, and hopefully that will come through for us. We had conference track meet yesterday for middle school, and our girls were the champions, and our boys came in second by 1 point. It was a very intense matchup, and our kids did very well. The middle school also recently had a STEM night, and that was very successful. I got to attend a little bit of that, and we had a good crowd, especially we're just now really working on bringing family engagement events back into the middle school, and so we were very thankful that we had a pretty good crowd for that. The high school had prom this weekend, and we're very thankful to say that was successful and safe. We are wrapping up regular season spring sports next week and then starting playoffs. Kind of district happenings, we had our NCDPI Infinite Campus consultant here on the work day right after spring break that trained our 4 data managers, Anissa Roberts and Becky Stewart. And the Infinite Campus, just a reminder, will be our new student information system that we'll be implementing over the summer and starting next school year. That team will also be attending another training session at Lake Lure on Tuesday, May 6th. We had our federal programs audit monitoring last week on Thursday. We'll expect the report for that in 6 weeks, but overall we think that it was a good visit for DPI. We recently finished our beginning teacher support program monitoring in February. We did receive our report on that. It had one finding. That finding was related to having some areas where we were not having our post-conference after a teacher evaluation within 10 days. So that was addressed in a district leadership team meeting, and I expect we'll be in compliance with that before the end of the year. So, and oftentimes I think those meetings are happening regularly. It's just the time that it takes to get them put into the system and those time stamps and those things. But I know our principals are doing a great job with having those on time. We also had Parents Night Out at the primary school, and that was a great event. We had almost 100 students in attendance, and so we got to have those kids for the evening, and parents got to go have a night out, and that was well received by our parents. Just a few things coming up. This Friday is School Lunch Hero Day. We're very grateful for the difference our cafeteria's staff makes for every child who comes through the cafeteria. Next week is also Staff Appreciation Week, so our district has adopted the notion of celebrating all staff in one week instead of sporadically throughout the year. So that week is next week, so we try to make that a big deal and celebrate everyone on campus. We have our senior walk next Monday morning, and then senior awards night will be next Monday evening at 6:30 at Truett Memorial Baptist Church. Also, the spring art show is coming up next Thursday. The yearbook dedication assembly will be May 14th, and graduation is Saturday, May 24th at 7:30 in the Frank R. Long Memorial Stadium. Lots of high school things going on. The middle school is also hosting a Rising 6th grade parent night, which will be held on May the 20th. So May is shaping up to be very busy for everybody, but those are the things I had to share. You guys have any questions?
Any questions or comments? Busy time, wrapping things
Busy
up.
time.
Yeah, thank you. So next we have the action items of the agenda. We have policy 3620 for approval this evening, extracurricular activities and student organizations.
This is a policy that we tabled last month because we needed a bit more input on this. Our policy changes come to us recommended by the State School Board Association and are vetted by their attorneys. This one requires us to choose an option. So this is specifically related to homeschool participation in athletics. And so the School Board Association has given us 3 options to choose as to how we would like to include homeschool students, if at all, in athletics. So this would be middle school and high school athletics that are school-based sports. Option 1 is that they can participate without really any stipulations. Option 2 is that students would need to be dually enrolled in order to participate. And option 3 would be that homeschool students may not participate. So we wanted to have a bit more time to get some input from our coaches, our athletic directors, our admins, as well as have the opportunity to talk to other districts and see how they're managing this and how things have gone for them. Collectively, with the input that we have received from everybody, it is my recommendation that we go with option 3, which would be that homeschool students would not be allowed to participate in athletics. And I want to I've shared with board members through email some of the reasons that came up in those discussions, but just for the sake of the public, I'll review those briefly. Some districts have taken the approach of being duly enrolled, and so then you're required to come for particular classes. Typically, those are your EOG or EOC classes that you would have to come and take. That can create some scheduling conflicts. So for example, if you were an 8th grader and you took that approach, you would need to take math, reading, and science because all 3 of those are EOG subjects. You might have one of those in the morning and one of those in the afternoon, and it can create some scheduling challenges. Also, in addition, we want to be very careful. I mean, the state has already reduced the graduation requirement to 22 credits, but because athletics requires a minimum GPA, you have to be passing your classes, you have to have good attendance. So we don't want to create an opportunity where students can kind of bypass those rules by going to homeschool, because there is really no reporting for homeschools. We know there's some very legitimate homeschools. I know several of them that do a great job with homeschooling, but we also know that there are people that claim to homeschool and there's no accountability for those. So it'd be very difficult to monitor their attendance and grades if they didn't have some accountability here at school. Another thing that was mentioned is that monitoring creates a lot of time already just for our athletes that attend school here. So to add an additional layer that's a bit more complicated would be a real obligation of time and energy for our staff that are already spending a lot of time devoting toward this. So for those reasons, and just believing that what we offer here is good, we believe we have a lot to offer to students to attend school here. And so if they want to be an athlete, we would encourage them to come and enroll and be a student here, and we would be happy to receive them as athletes. But there are 3 options that are provided for you guys to consider and review, and choose one of those as we adopt this policy. And normally we don't spend as much time talking about our policy adoptions because normally they're small changes, but because this one was a bigger change with different options, I wanted to make sure that I brought attention to what those options are and give you all an opportunity to discuss it in more detail.
Very good. So you've heard the recommendations to adopt policy 3620 and the reason behind that to not allow homeschool students to participate in interscholastic athletics at Hayesville.
Do we currently have any students that are homeschooled that participate?
No.
Are there any questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? So is there a motion that we approve that policy with the recommendation that no
I'll
homeschool?
make a motion to approve the recommendation for option 3.
Okay, we have a motion. Mr. Jones seconds that. All in favor? Very good. Thank you.
I did want to mention that there was a conversation I had recently about the opportunity for homeschool students to participate in clubs. There was particularly questions about could they perhaps be involved in FFA or something of that sort. And so I have our school board attorney looking to see if there are other districts that are allowing it for that purpose only, so that we could look at some different things that are currently happening throughout the state to see if that's something we want to consider. I do think that in my initial conversations with both Dr. Clapsaddle and Mr. Oberlin, that I think that there would be some consideration about those kinds of opportunities where there's not an emphasis on grades or attendance requirements, that we would be open to that if we could find the right policy to support it. So I will be back in touch with you about that regarding this, but it would most likely be done as a regulation versus actually being incorporated into this policy. Just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. So next we have the Hayesville High School gym chiller and air handler. Ms. Shelley Hollingsworth and Steve Livers is here as well. Thank you, Steve.
In your packets, in your Google Drive, we did include information on the replacement of the gymnasium chiller and the air handler unit. I am going to let Mr. Livers give you a little bit more detail as to why that needs to be replaced. I mean, the biggest thing is the chiller is over 30 years old, and we have been having to make multiple repairs to that, but he can give you a little more detail as to what's been going on with that and why we need to replace it. Do you want to?
So what's going on here is we've got a 1997 trained 7-ton chiller. We've recently, in the past couple of years, spent $6,000 to $7,000 on it, just keeping it running. It's 410A refrigerant, but 410A is going away now. It's going to be 454B and R32. So with that being said, if we blow a hole in it, which is more than likely because we got copper breaking down, things like this, then we're going to be in some serious trouble. You're looking at probably 30 to 60 pounds just to get it halfway there. So when you add all of that, $1,000 here a jug for refrigerant for a 30-pound cylinder, you know, it's going to really start eating us up. And right now, just this week, from the time the warm weather hit till now, I've had to restart that chiller and fix it 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. And last summer it was a constant battle. Mm-hmm. And so we're really looking at some real cost expense here if we don't do something about it. And so we have quoted a chiller change out and both air handler change outs in the gymnasium. We were limited on who we could use because that's an H2 license, and not very many people in our area have an H2 license. So we were still able to get quotes, but they came outsourced from other places. So we're looking at.
We had 2 quotes that we were able to obtain. Bolton, which you all know, they do a lot of our HVAC work on campus. Their quote to replace both was $367,966. Woodard came in at $420,898.
We typically like to get 3 quotes or more on projects that are priced out this large. However, because of our area and the location of the other contractors that would be kind of more local to us, Haynes Heating and Cooling out of Asheville, they would not provide a quote because of our location. And then we also reached out to Vision Enterprises Incorporated out of Blairsville, and because of licensing in the state of North Carolina, they were unable to provide a quote as well. So we ended up with the 2 quotes to choose from. We do recommend awarding the contract to Bolton. This would be funded with the repair and renovation funds from the lottery funds from the state. Even after we would approve this, we would have around $715,000 left in the R&R funds to use for future projects.
So this, when you're talking about the air handler, this is the units that are in the gym ceiling, correct?
Sir.
Will they stay in there? Will they be put back in the same place?
So in all of my research, because I've been fighting to put them out on the roof.
Right.
In all of my research, it has nothing to do with the load bearing of the trusses. It's the size of the roof. That roof only has 12 feet on a 2 and 12, 3 and 12 pitch. So by the time we added air handlers, ductwork, water piping and all that, I don't think, we just don't have the room up there on that roof. We would have had to provide access to both sides to that roof, plus build platforms and build sheds over these particular air handlers. Now, if we would have went heat pumps, we would have been overweight. So to get these type air handlers in, we would have had to build buildings over top of them because of water constantly flowing through these things during the wintertime. It's like to freeze. So we would have had to have provided a lot more, plus safety railing and things like this that OSHA would have required, and the budgeting would have went way over that. But now what I did do is we're making sure that these new air handlers that are 15 times more SEER rated up, they're 3 times more efficient, they are going to be put on VFD controls for the fans. So the fans will ramp all the way down and up as needed. So we can actually control the fans and actually slow them fans down where it quietens the whole gym down.
And what about condensation? I know they've had condensation issues in the past too.
Yeah, it's going to be taken care of. We got a new plan for that so that we don't have the issues. And a lot of the issue is with these air handlers, the older air handlers, all the interline insulation is broke down, allowing a lot more moisture into there, which created more condensation for the pour out on the floor, which is why we done what we did with the pans, right. Which has worked thus far since we installed them. But come to find out, like I said in my research, the original drawing, they were on the roof, but when they revamped that drawing and shrunk the size of that gym, they draw them inside the gym. So that hurt when they reconstructed the drawing, was shrunk that gym down. So.
Mr. Labbers and I have had a lot of conversation about that because I really wanted those on the roof. And I needed him to give me all the reasons why it wouldn't work. But when you just look at the fact that it's on a slope, there's not enough room to get around it and work on it, and the things we would have to do to be able to access it, I mean, it really would have made the costs so much greater.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions or comments?
Why on the second one is there's no warranty besides labor?
Technically, in commercial applications, you only get a 1-year warranty.
Yeah, but it just says on all labor.
Yes.
It don't have the product, right?
The product manufacturer warranty depends on the manufacturer themselves. So
is the second one the air handlers?
Yes.
So there's no product warranty?
Yes, but it depends on the product itself, on what that manufacturer decides to warranty. So if they install it and they go with that particular air handler, that unit could have a 10-year warranty, could have a 5-year warranty. So it depends on which route they go with that particular air handler. And
so the chiller has a It just says manufacturer's warranty, this one don't say anything.
Yes, it does have a manufacturing warranty in it. It's probably, they probably didn't put it in the contract.
It'll depend on which air handler they actually end up going with when they get ready to do the work.
Yeah. You just need to, I would make sure it's in there.
Oh, yes, it is.
Good catch.
But
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yes. Did it offer extended warranties?
That's right.
Yeah.
A true car salesman.
$360,000.
Yeah. It's a chunk of money.
If I may, Ms. Hollingsworth, you did say that this is funded out of lottery or
It would be the repair and renovation funds that are part of lottery.
part of lottery. And then, if you don't mind, if the lower amount is voted on this afternoon, would you mind telling me that remaining balance? I think you said.
It's around, it'll be around $715,000.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you.
And you have to remember too, we're getting quarterly distributions to that. So that's $715,000 right now, but we will be due for another distribution before the end of the year. So there will be more funds distributed.
Very good.
And there's no match with R&R, right?
Right.
Any other questions or comments?
It's
I
painful
was
to see those
often
numbers.
flabbergasted how expensive that is. I mean,
Just
that's
think
just,
in the past year, it's that,
how a nice house you can build with that.
it's $100,000 difference.
Golly.
Matter of fact, I think it's $150,000 difference from the last time I priced it, quoted it.
Yeah. That's how much inflation has risen over the past few years.
So we have the recommendation from Ms. Hollingsworth and Mr. Livers that we go with Bolton for the Hazel High School gymnasium chiller and air handler, and those funds will be coming from R&R funds. Is there a motion that we approve that recommendation?
I make a motion to approve it.
Mr. Jones has a motion. Is there a second?
I second, but as long as that.
Just
warranty-
verify the
that-
manufacturer's
yeah,
warranty on
is
that.
in that second one.
Yeah. So we have a motion, and Josh is amending that to make sure that we have a manufacturer's warranty on the air handlers. So, all in favor? Very good. Thank you. Thank y'all for doing that. See, we put it together.
That will mean that this summer we will be getting a new chiller and air handlers. We will be painting, fixing the sheetrock, and the floor. So the gym is going to be big project.
Some big projects.
this summer.
Yeah.
Somebody fixed the floor in the stairwell. Do you notice that in the visitor side going down the far side? There's like 4 up on the stairwell.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's me again.
Yep.
Budget amendments.
Yep.
Okay, the first one we have is the state public school fund. We need to budget an additional $359,151. This includes an additional $200 for the Holocaust sub pay reimbursement, $120,662, which is a guaranteed allotment. This is for longevity payments that classified and non-certified staff members still receive. Any annual leave payouts to state-funded staff members, bonus leave payouts, and short-term disability, which right now we don't have anybody on short-term disability. Paid parental leave, which is also a guaranteed allotment. This is $17,500. An additional $195 to driver training, $35,090 to children with special needs. Now, this isn't additional money to add anything additional to that budget. This will just cover the contracts and the salaries that are actually already there in the budget to be paid this year. School safety grant, $144,000. And then a final distribution for transportation for $41,504. Do you have any questions on the state amendments? For the local current expense fund, this is not a change in actual dollar amount. These are just changes to
align the purpose codes to the actual expenses. And this is mainly due when we budget for those local stipends at the beginning of the year, the local supplements, and then those $500 payments to non-certified staff members. We usually put it in one lump sum, and because we've got so many different people paid out of different funding categories, and once we actually make those payments, we make an adjustment to move those around to their proper funding source. So that's what these changes are for. Are there any questions there? The next ones are Federal Grants Fund. This is for an additional $3,958. We got an additional $1,593 for IDEA. This is just a grant year. The current grant year, this is an adjustment to that allotment. We had an additional $2,046 in our IDEA target assistance monies, and this was actually an adjustment to our carryover funds from last fiscal year. And then we also had a $319 adjustment to our pre-K target assist funds, and that was also an adjustment to the carryover funds from a previous year. And then the rest of those changes between those accounts are to align the actual expenses with the DPI chart of accounts. Are there any questions on the federal amendments? Okay, so the capital outlay fund, there's a lot going on, and all of these are actually R&R funds, the repair and renovations, and all of these are already included in that total that I gave you that was going to be left. I had already calculated all of these changes. I do want to point out that some of these requests to use R&R funds and to budget these requests to use these funds are because, as you know, over the years, we have had to increase classified salaries to that minimum of $15. And with that came salary compression, where we had to make sure we analyzed everybody, and somebody brand new coming in wasn't making the same exact thing as somebody that had been here 20 years. So there was no new money allotted to those small schools funds, so we have had to just make that work. So in order to make that work this year, because we have had increased over the years with the regular increases each year that the state has imposed on classified salaries, we've also had to deal with that, as well as retirement rate increases. And health insurance, the employer portion of health insurance increases almost every year without any increases to those state funds. So in order to do that, some of the actual contracts that we pay out of 19 money, we can pull from these R&R funds for preventative maintenance. So I have those here, and I'm going to just kind of go through those. The Hazel High School and the middle school annual gym floor rescreening, that's $13,255. We had to have bleacher repairs and inspections, $6,061. This is the HVAC service repairs. This was gym chiller and repipe and replace condenser water pump. So that's already some HVA repairs that we've had to make to the high school this current year. Almost $5,003. District-wide annual preventative maintenance and repairs contract. That's our annual contract with Bolton. That's $49,189. The HHS gym chiller and the air handler replacement, which we just approved that contract, $367,966. Another summer project that we're planning to take on this summer is at the high school, and it is for repairing and refurbishing the lockers. That's $6,515. The elevator at the gym requires numerous calls during the year for repair and maintenance. That has totaled so far this year $9,481.
We plan to finish the replacement of the wallboard, or not replacing it actually, installing wallboard in the rest of the primary school where we did not address those areas last year. That's an additional $24,524. And then painting the high school gym, $22,200. And I think that had already been approved through a poll to the board. So that's a total of $504,194, and that still leaves around $715,000 in R&R monies to use later.
I do want to mention too that when our contract is up with the elevator maintenance contract, we plan to really carefully look at that one, because we call them a lot and we have to keep calling them, and it's an expensive charge every time they come. We don't feel like it's
I
actually
think we
the issue's getting
have
fixed.
one more year after this year left with that contract with TK. Thies and Krupp is what it stands for. They're out of South Carolina, I think. Are there any questions on capital outlay? Okay, moving along to Fund 8, the Special Revenue Fund. We need to budget an additional $99,161.82. This is to budget the remaining funds being released for the Discovery Stabilization Grant. These were funds that came about during COVID, and this will be the last distribution of these funds. We've been able to use these funds in numerous ways, but here recently, the only thing we've been able to use it on is like attendance bonuses for those staff to keep them here and keep them working for the program. That was $9,276. The pre-K snack monies that were collected this year, $350. Communities for Students, tutor and site coordinator, we just needed a small adjustment there for the actual amount we received for that. That was $408.54. Daycare contributions and donations. This goes back to when they held a fundraiser back in the Christmas season, and the monies they collected, they actually ended up spending in the past few weeks. So that was $1,307. They bought a new slide, out there, and then purchased some mulch to go around the slide. We need to budget daycare tuition and fees. At the beginning of the year, we pretty much estimated, but of course, that's kind of a moving target because we don't know, if we're going to have all slots filled, and, sometimes they vacate and then they're filled, and then some of them have subsidy, some are private pay. So we're budgeting an additional $72,267 there, and what we plan to do is give you an update in June on where we stand with daycare. And then we have local tuition collection, $6,228, and then miscellaneous donations, $9,325. And those were some donations that helped us with beginning of year celebration, staff wellness, and just certain things like that. Are there any questions on those amendments?
Any questions or comments from Ms. Hollingsworth on those? If not, we'll entertain a motion that we approve the budget amendments as they need to be. Mr. Caldwell has a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Who was the second?
Josh. And next we have the Pace Setters Memorandum of Understanding.
As you all know, we received $144,000 in our safety grant. $100,000 of that is for equipment. The other $44,000 of that is for services for students in crisis. And so we would like to use that $44,000 to partner with Pace Setters. They would provide us some support, and if you look at the purpose on this MOU, it's regarding the implementation of alternative program for at-risk students in grades 3 through 12 who are frequent recipients of in-school suspension or out-of-school suspension. The program is to provide an alternative disciplinary approach through academic support, restorative community service, interpersonal social skills, and de-escalation training. We've been working with pace setters throughout the year, primarily at the middle school, and they've been a real blessing to us with some of our students who need additional support there. So this MOU outlines basically what they will do, which is provide academic support, restorative community service, social skills training and de-escalation, and then referrals to other agencies as needed. The MOU outlines their responsibilities as well as our responsibilities, but speaking specifically to what pace setters will provide to us is qualified staff to deliver the outlined program services, offer academic support during ISS, the alternative ISS-OSS program to assist students with their outstanding coursework, develop and facilitate structured community service projects that take place on the school campus. So we have students who have been working in a variety of ways, whether it's cleaning in the cafeteria or working on landscaping or whatever the case may be. Conduct training sessions focused on interpersonal social skills, emotional regulation, and de-escalation strategies when deemed appropriate. Provide ongoing communication with school administrators, teachers, and counselors, and coordinate referrals with outside agencies when additional support for students is required. And then it outlines, of course, our school responsibilities and how we will work with them, and this will be in effect for 1 year from the time that it's signed. This does not require board signature, but anytime we're entering into an MOU with an outside agency, I wanted to bring it before you and get your approval for us to enter into this partnership. But it would be, all the funds that would support this would be completely grant funded through our safety grant. Asking for approval.
Any questions or comments about the MOU with pace setters? If not, we'll entertain a motion that we approve this MOU.
I'll make a motion to approve MOU.
Right, is there a second? All in favor? Thank you. Next, we have the Hazel Middle School ELA curriculum.
Two things. Adrian told me I only have 2 minutes. And I want to let Mr. And I want to let Mr. Ash know we're not going to need an extended warranty here. It's going to be less than a price of a car.
Thank you.
So what these ladies are passing out over the last several months, starting back in the fall, some of the things that I've got the ELA teachers and the EC teachers here with me. Some of the things when we were talking about what the beginning meetings that I had with them, what they wanted, what they felt like they needed, some of the things that were deficit in the curriculum, what they really could use, especially going into our MTSS process, what they could use there. So we started looking at different curriculums. The one that we would like to propose to you is Amplify. And we have gone through, and I say we, these ladies, all I did was contact people and have them send stuff. These ladies have gone through the materials. They've had them in their classrooms, different, not just this program, but different ones. I don't even know how many times we met after school for, an hour and a half. It seems like all the time sometimes. We presented it to the PTO, and we also offered it up to Curriculum Review for partners, community partnerships, or any parents that wanted to come in. We did have actually some parent phone calls about it. What they were more interested in telling me what they didn't want than they were very adamant about what they didn't want that's being used in neighboring county. So can you go to the next slide, Adrian? So a lot of these things, and I'm the math teacher, y'all know that. I'm going to let these ladies talk about this. This is the dream team minus Miss Wilson, who hopefully is winning a softball game right now against a neighboring county, or neighboring school. But I'm going to let them talk about the things that always came up to me were writing, vocabulary, diversity, integration, and all these things that I'm going to let them talk about, those kind of things. There's a lot of things on there I could talk about that they're going to get to. There is one thing, can you go to the next slide, please? And these are not our students, but I want you to listen to what these students say. And this program is being used in Graham County, and they have gone to Graham County to do interviews like this. But I just want you to listen to what these students say and see if you can pick out things. I wrote down 4 things when I was watching this video that you're not normally going to hear middle school students talk about.
My favorite part of Amplify was probably when we did Red Scarf Girl. I love history. like the parts where it like tells us to get in like groups with classes and have us partner up.
I like interacting with my peers because everybody has their own opinion.
I enjoyed the cask of Amontillado the most because it was like more interactive and it helped me like with writing.
With Amplify, it has a text with it so you can cite evidence, you could copy and paste, you can do all these good things that other stuff can't.
It's useful for multiple things. One of the main reasons is helping me understand words, to expand my vocabulary and exercise our vocabulary.
I liked the library because it has cool books.
I like to read about mystery, how you can figure out things and use examples for things what they say, basically putting a puzzle together.
Yeah, it's made me more patient with explaining my work more than just writing about it.
It helped me with citing evidence more than I usually did.
It's more engaging because it's more fun to read it. You become a better reader when you have someone to talk to and kind of read to and engage with.
My favorite part of Amplify
text evidence or citing evidence or engaging or being with their peers. And I think there's everything that we brought is, some of it is a program overview, so it talks about all 3 grade levels, but I brought in particular the 8th grade thematic units, and they also have journals with them. But if you look at I think it's Frankenstein, isn't it? The Frankenstein book, a lot of these, this is not just like your normal book that you're going to find in the library. When they were talking about the library, they're talking about their digital library that they have. But the Frankenstein book is, I mean, it doesn't do anything for me, but middle school students like graphic novels and those kinds of things. So I'm going to step aside, and of course I have to tell you that it's aligned to the North Carolina Standard Course of Study, which is important. I'm going to let Ms. Keeling and Ms. Pullen talk about the things that they would use in their classrooms in the general ed classroom, and then Ms. Sevig and Ms. Hoxett are going to talk about some of the things that they're excited about with the interventions with the program.
My name is Abby Pullum. I teach 7th grade ELA. I don't know if any of you have been in a middle school ELA classroom lately, but it is very hard to get them engaged. So as we were really dissecting all of these texts and curriculums, we had to go back to our mission statement, which says, of course, you know, that we are ensuring that all students are learning at high levels. We have to increase the rigor with ELA. In middle school, we have to increase their engagement, and the way that I know to do that is to find a curriculum that has the most components tied into one. This is going to allow vertical alignment throughout all of our grade levels if we are all using the interventions and the differentiation and the vocabulary and whatnot. So as we selected the curriculum of Amplify that we really honed in on, we noticed that it was all encompassing of the vocabulary, which is a huge piece of where we are weak in. We can give students a list of vocabulary words that they memorize, or we can give them vocabulary words that they're actually applying within the whole unit, the videos, the writing, everything included together. Another scaffolding piece is the writing and the exposure to broad topics. The EOGs are going to bring about a lot of topics that are very challenging for them to read because the state of North Carolina makes sure, and it ensures that it is all fair, no matter what county you're in North Carolina. That being said, we have to expose them to as many types of topics that we possibly can to get their background knowledge enriched. So we felt like Amplify provided all of that. Okay, good. So we're on the thematic units. We can give students passages and kill and drill, which isn't working, or we can really choose to engage them with a bunch of different ways. The thematic units are really focused and are great at the cross-curricular standards that we can tie in with science and social studies. It is now required for 6th through 12th grade teachers to teach the Holocaust in ELA and social studies. So the online digital library provides a lot of those resources, but you'll notice, I think it should be in front of you. If not, we can provide it for you. The 8th grade has a specific Holocaust full unit on it. I also have resources that I'm willing to share as 6th and 7th to enrich that Holocaust requirement now. And I think that our informational text is another weak part for us. And again, it comes back to building the vocabulary, building the comprehension, the fluency, all of it in all different ways. And so the unit is going to provide all of that in a nice, pretty package with a wonderful gold bow on it. And I really was excited to teach the material in front of you. This made me passionate and not having to pull out of all different places and of what we're going to use, which creates gaps in learning. If 6th grade is doing one thing for intervention and differentiation, 7th grade's doing one thing, and 8th grade's doing one thing. So if we have an all-encompassing curriculum, then we are well equipped to be one aligned, one unit, which we should be. Can you go to the next one? The other thing I would like to talk about is the vocabulary. So time and time again, we are weak in informational text and vocabulary. And like I just mentioned a few minutes ago, we can either give them lists to memorize, which I've moved away from this year. I've really tried to focus on the words that they don't know within the passage. However, this program provides so many videos and engaging online opportunities, as well as the digital library, as well as the vocabulary activities that they can use within the units before we even dive into the actual reading comprehension. So it's really going to make long-lasting vocabulary retention, which is the goal, instead of just memorizing for a quiz or memorizing for a test of some sort. So I think that's my piece, and turn it over to Brooke. That's what I'm passionate about, and I really, I think we were all just very excited. Especially the training that they are providing or would be included with it. I think we would be very well equipped. We would have everything in our hands, actual hands, not, yes, there is a digital piece, but just having it right in front of them, the students having it right in front of them, I think it would be very engaging for them. I think they would be very excited to have something new. And like I said, you might want to stop by our classrooms anytime, you're welcome. It's very hard to get them going and get them engaged, especially at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I think this would provide a lot of, what are we doing today? What is it going to be today? It doesn't have to be the same all the time. So I'm very excited about it. Brooke, take it away.
All right, hi, I'm Brooke Keeling. I teach 6th grade ELA. And I was going to talk to you real quick about interventions that Amplify provides. I think it should be on the
Amplify has
and also writing and assessment. So real quick, there is a big writing piece to this program that is really helpful with helping students be prepared for those questions that they'll see on the EOG. A lot of times, kids who are able to answer open-ended questions are more able to think more critically and think through questions that they're going to see when they're tested on exams. And so being able to have those writing skills really helps them. It also helps them as they go into high school and further on in life. They need to know kind of the fundamentals of how to write, and this program helps them teach that or learn that, and kind of as of right now, we kind of need more resources for that instead of just pulling everywhere, having some kind of uniform program where in 6th grade they can learn writing basics, and that kind of builds in 7th and 8th grade. As far as assessments go, the program assesses on a independent work level, so each lesson has a solo work section that assesses how they've learned, as well as an exit ticket at the end of the lesson. It's just a quick little question or two to kind of see, did they understand what they learned or do they need extra practice? And then there's also a summative assessment at the end of each unit. And it allows us to kind of see exactly where the kiddos are at. And there is actually a report you can run that will show you exactly what each kid needs extra practice on for your interventions. And so it will allow you to say, oh, you know, Susan didn't quite understand how to cite her evidence or how to infer. So before we move on to the next unit, there are flex days built in where instead of just moving on, I can run that report and say, let's hang on a second and let's see exactly what we need to go over. And I can create small groups based on, well, these 5 kids need extra help on this standard we just covered. These 5 kids need extra help on this standard. So it allows us to kind of take that time to assess and reflect and review what we need to learn and go back over before we move on to the next unit. And so that makes life a lot easier. So as well, there's also an entire flex unit. So during our win time in particular, which is at the end of the day, which is a time just for interventions, it allows us to kind of have just a set group of lessons that we can go over with the kids and kind of target exactly what they need help on based off the data, check-in data, assessment data, things like that. So there's a quote on the presentation that I thought was really good. It was, we assess while the teachers get to instruct. So the program allows them to figure out what we need to re-instruct for the kids. So there's also a really great differentiation piece that allows the kids to kind of interact with things on their level, and Shannon and Angie are going to tell you about that.
I'm Angie Sepig and Shannon Hogshead. We're the EC teachers at the middle school, and the differentiation piece is what we really love. So there's 6 levels of differentiation built in, and it starts from substantial, which could be your EC kids. So we have some kids that might be reading at a tested 2nd grade level, and they're in a 6th, 7th grade class. What the program will do is automatically, it can reduce the lexile level of what they're reading. There's writing prompts that are available. Some of the written sections, they might get them set in starters to kind of help to prompt them, or it could even go down as far as like fill in the blank as they get going, and then the teacher has the discretion to bump them up as they keep showing mastery of that. From the substantial level, it goes down to ELL support, so there's a built-in component for our English language learners just to help them expand their vocabulary as they're learning the English language, as they need more support. And then there's also a moderate and a light version for kids that are not quite at grade level, but need a little additional support. And then one of the great things is the challenge. So reaching our AIG students and just growing them, so they're already independently mastering those grade level standards. It gives them challenge activities, ask them a little harder questions, and expand it so they're not getting bored and they're getting their needs met where they want to as well. And the great thing I think about that is when the students are reading on their computer or they're doing these activities, no one else knows what their differentiated level is. It's all private, you know, and they're going to feel success on the same content that their peers are on, and they're not going to know there's a difference. Keeping us in compliance with their IEP accommodations as well. A lot of our students have accommodations of reduced workload or reading at a lower level, and it's so hard when teachers have 100 students to remember which kids and how do I find materials, and sometimes it's not quite the same content as what's being taught because it's hard to find those resources. So just because this is already built in for that, I think it's going to keep us compliant with our IEPs and really help our students grow and track that data as they move up through the different differentiation levels.
I think everything's about been said, but I do like the differentiation pieces. Again, I typically do the 7th and 8th grade EC, but I like it because, like Angie said, I have on my caseload probably 2nd grade readers all the way up through 9th grade readers, and because some of my kids are probably could qualify for AIG in reading, but yet they're low in math. And then I have some kids who still struggle with vocabulary. So I like it that it gives 6 levels of differentiation. I'm not having to pull in Google where to pull my resources from. I really like that. As far as the writing, same thing. I like it that it's going to hit all my kids, because some kids, I'm not sure, and they're not sure how to put a capital letter yet. They're not sure where to put the periods and the punctuation. And I've got some that can write, full paragraphs and pages and pages and pages. So again, it's hitting all my kids and all their needs all in one package. And again, I want to speak to the online library. I'm really excited about this because you can have the text like Josh has in front of him with the Frankenstein book, and it has like a graphic novel and little pictures and stuff, but it also has the digital piece where you can open it up and look at your own book of that, and no one knows, like Angie said, if you're reading it at a 2nd grade level. So it's great because you have it in your hands and then you also have it in front of you. I just think both pieces are important. Sometimes it's just great to hold that book. I don't want to lose that, but it also has a digital component where you can see it and have it read aloud to you. So Angie and I really like this because it can hit all the needs of our students. So, thank you.
No, don't play that. Don't play it. Some of the things I know that they probably, when you're speaking in front of people, you forget several things. One of the things was, and I'm not the reason I didn't go into English because I didn't want to grade writing papers. I didn't want to have to read all of them. Online, it does it for you. It scores it for you, which was, I thought, daggone, I can do this. This is, it does that. But even, we're talking about the graphic novels, they have a storyboard component to it. So you could immerse yourself like you were manipulating the characters, kind of like I'm going to show my age here, the choose your own adventure kind of books where you got to choose which way, So it's kind of the graphic part of that. I was trying to think of the other things while y'all were talking. I was excited, and I'm not an ELA person. I know Miss McClure was talking about, and these ladies have talked about, you have so many days in your curriculum, and of course, or in your school year, and, our spring semester has been cut short, as I'm sure the high school is well aware of. But this curriculum and their 6 thematic units can be condensed down into 100 days. So if the student or if the teachers wanted to do a novel study, they could implement that in there. And those novels are included in that digital library. There are benchmark testing, the BOI, MO, the beginning, middle, and end of year. The progress monitoring is very similar to the Dibbles M-Class, those kinds of things. That the other schools I did put in there, the ones that have adopted just right around us, Haywood, Macon, Graham, and Transylvania, that are they're very excited about that too. So if you can go to the next slide, I think it's just questions. No warranties.
I will say, while you guys are thinking about your questions, our ask tonight is to approve this curriculum pending the availability. So my thought was we would just take the funding that we've previously used for our reading curriculum and use it to purchase whatever the team chose. The quotes are about double of what we normally spend on middle school ELA curriculum. So Shelley and I are still in the process of getting all the quotes for renewals and all the things, and certainly we want to make that work, but I don't want to give false, there might be pieces that we might not be able to afford. So our ask is for approval pending the availability of funding, and we don't have our allotments for next year yet, so
And there are different parts to it, the different quotes. There's one that I guess you could call it your basic versus your XLT or something of that. Now I'm talking your language. So you're going to fund our XLT? No, but there are, and we do have for our progress monitoring, we're going to continue with the iExcel that we have done this last year. So we do have that part in there, and there's different parts to the curriculum, but the basic part is everything that we have spoken about. The other parts that, they are the leather seats and all the things that go with them. Yeah, the seat warmers and the AC and all those kinds of things. Any questions for us?
Like Graham County?
Each one, I did not bring that with me. Graham, Swain, did I put Swain on there? Swain's only doing K-5 right now. They're looking at doing the 6-8. Graham, Haywood, I want to say they're in year 2 maybe. Okay. One of them was year 1. She was telling me all the different ones. I've been working with her trying to channel my inner Ash and
get all
lower the price and get what we
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
you know, all those kinds of, I know I'm on here right now, but it's just. Yeah.
I really appreciate the time you guys have spent. I know this is a very rigorous process, and like it takes a lot of time to look at these things from all the different ways you have to look at it. So I appreciate the time then.
I will just want to add it. Dr. Coxwell said sometimes when you're speaking up here, you forget if you don't have notes in front of you. But to me, it was very important that when the curriculum was made to be on the lower levels for my students, it didn't go back to the 2nd and 3rd grade standards. It was still addressing 6th, 7th, and 8th grade standards, just on the way that it could fit their needs. And that was huge and important.
And it was so easy. All the teacher had to do was just one little click. And if you're looking at this screen versus this screen, you would not know that it was a different level.
And that's what I just love about this, because they're just, the kids struggle enough having this, school's awful, how stupid, you know, they have this thing, and I just want to put them on the level playing field as much as I can.
Well, at this age, they're so sensitive about any, I feel different, or, you know, you have to, any kind of accommodation, modification, whatever, they're very, you have to be very discreet.
Yes.
You gotta be very, you know, careful about that. So this would help with that, they feel confident.
I even like that there's a different book for each unit, because like if you give them their textbook at the beginning of the year, they're like, oh my gosh, I have to do all of that this year. Where this is like, when they're done with that unit, that book's done, and they get a brand new one that they're excited about again. So that's really good.
We can stand up here and talk all day.
I mean, that's exciting though. I mean, I think it's good. Obviously, the time, you can tell there's been a lot of time and energy put into it. So it's good to see you guys, or you ladies, excited about presenting it and what the possibilities are. So I think it's great. Thank you.
One more question. What's the price, or what will this cost?
It's $18,000.
Okay.
That's a 1-year contract.
For 1 year.
They gave us 1, 2, and 3, but we didn't want to go with the 2 or, well, particularly because of the price, but we wanted to make sure that we were really in with this one.
Do you think there's going to be a steep learning curve with all this, like changing curriculums? I mean, I know there's always a change. There's always.
I think the most difficult part is going to be the writing.
Yeah.
Because you see the writing journals in there, but I think we all agree that that's, I mean, I can tell you from my own 3 children, the writing is a big part of it, and the vocabulary part. So I think there will be part of it in there, but I think once they get into, you know, and they're looking at these novels and they're seeing these things, it's not just, you know, open up your Chromebook and let's read this passage kind of thing. It is very engaging.
Yeah.
And you do have to remember, we're having a new 6th grade group come in, so that would be a new start that they're expecting anyway.
Right.
And then 8th is moving on, so it's just the 2 grade levels that would have the biggest learning curve for it.
And I think they've been doing ready reading for so long.
They
would be excited to do something different.
The teachers look like they're excited
They
about
are.
it.
And that's what makes all the difference. Yeah.
And anybody that's excited about something, they'll do their best. So.
These ladies are. I will tell you, I've had lots of engaging discussions. Never would have thought it about reading.
I think that with like technology, and I think technology is great, but you also need the writing piece and the hands-on piece, which that offers with the hands-on books. You actually take your pencil and write it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think there should be a good balance between technology and the books in your hand. And I think that offers both. And I think it's hard to find in some other, curriculums that you have both. So.
I'm just gonna say one more thing. The ready reading, I have spent many years in ready reading, but truly in reading, in the reading curriculum, it is only 19 weeks. So we are pulling, from the depths of our soul to fill the year. You know what I'm saying? So this is going to be just complete, whether we need to condense it or we don't. It's going to have what we need to finish and accomplish all the standards throughout the year.
Well, and ready reading is just reading comprehension.
Mm-hmm.
So this factors in a lot of other aspects of reading, such beyond comprehension. So.
It's exciting. Thank y'all again.
Get us out of here before they start.
Very good. So Miss Kelly? No, that's fine.
Hi, Kelly.
Jump on up here.
They made me
So we need to approve that.
Yeah, approve pending funding, yes.
So you've heard that presentation on the curriculum from the middle school. So I entertain a motion that we approve this curriculum pending funding to purchase it.
Make a motion, Dr. Schiff.
Mr. Caldwell has a motion, Mr. Jones has a second, all in favor? Thank you. Next, we have, county budget request amendment.
So in your package, you're just kind of a one-pager with the letterhead on the top. This is really kind of an afterthought after we came up with our budget proposal, presented it to the board, and we have since presented it to the county commissioners. We had a thought, Dr. Shook, take credit for this, regarding the junior parking lot. In our budget request, we asked for $110,000, almost $111,000 for asphalt for the junior parking lot, which is a desperate need. It's been at least 25 years or so since it's had anything done to it. And obviously that's an expensive, it's a lot of money to repair that. So we have gotten a quote for the parking lot to be refreshed with tar and chat, which is obviously not our preferred choice of how that could be repaired, but it is, we do want to provide that option with board approval to the commissioners to consider if they can't afford to do the asphalt on that parking lot, if they would consider the lesser amount as a second option to do tar and chat. And so the way that would work is the DOT would do that for us, and we would just be responsible for the materials, which would be approximately $15,500, and that was a maximum amount that Preston Cape had given us. So if we want to consider offering the commissioners an option 2 for this project, we would need approval to amend our county budget request. So wanted to bring that before you and get your input on that.
Any questions or comments on that? It's
Good idea.
Yeah.
And using the tar and chat, what's the life of that, did he say? I mean, give us several years.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not as long-standing as
It's been tar and
asphalt.
chat the whole time.
Yeah.
And commissioners would go with that fashion, they would
The pavement.
RC.
We were, we talked with Mr. Penland, because we were trying to figure out how long this had been done down here. Because I can't remember it being resurfaced while I've been on the board. So I know it was done when Mr. Penland was here as superintendent. So that's where we kind of came up with the idea of 15 to 20 years, somewhere in that range, that it's been tar and chat. So that's a pretty good lifespan. That parking lot doesn't get near the traffic on it as the one by the gym does. So I think, even though it's not ideal, obviously if they've got the money, asphalt would be perfect. But I mean, if we can, possibly put that in and
95 grand cheaper.
Yeah.
Well, and two, we've had the asphalt for that parking lot on our county budget request for several years. It's not been funded. And then this year we also added, as part of our capital outlay, we added turf. We added some other significant expenditures. So it may not be funded again this year. So we thought maybe a cheaper option may give us a better chance of actually having some work done to that parking lot. I appreciate Dr. Schitt reaching out and doing the legwork on that.
So if y'all are okay with that, I'll entertain a motion that we present that as a second option to the asphalt for the, I guess that's the junior parking lot, what that's considered, so, yeah.
Make a motion, we amend for the county outlay.
All right. So Josh has made a motion that we amend the budget for the capital outlay.
I'll second it.
Crawford second, all in favor? All right. Thank you. And next we have the re-administration program planning.
Yeah, you guys have previously approved this, but Superintendent Green at the state level has extended some new options for test re-administration. And so because of that, we want to amend the plan that you had previously approved. So previously, we were only allowed to re-administer tests for kids who aren't proficient for an opportunity for proficiency after the end of the school year. Superintendent Green is allowing us to administer that before the school year is up. And so we would like to take advantage of that in elementary and middle school. So you'll see that's for 3rd through 8th grade. This is a much better option for elementary and middle school in terms of getting kids here. So previously when we did test re-administration, we are not offering transportation, we're not offering meals, we're just getting kids in here to test. We can't require them to come test. So sometimes our participation is limited because of those factors. It's also not full day. Those kids come in and test just for the morning. So sometimes that creates some childcare challenges. So if we can retest them during the school year when they're here for a full day, our teachers are here and ready to engage and do remediation, that can certainly be a better option. And so after discussion with the district leadership team, we would like to amend our plan for elementary and middle school and do that remediation and retesting during the school year, before school year concludes. And so because this plan has to be board approved, we wanted to bring it back before you with this new option and ask for your approval for this revised plan.
So you've heard the recommendation for the revised plan for remediation and retesting. Is there a motion that we approve this? Mr. Caldwell makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Josh second. All in favor? Thank you. The next item is the approval of the consent agenda, which is fairly short this evening. It's just the board meeting minutes from March the 24th. So I'll entertain a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. Coffey, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Jones, second. All in favor? Thank you. And just some information there, our board training is May 13th at 6 o'clock here in the boardroom. Common liability issues for school boards.
It's so engaging. If any of you want to come,
that is open to the public, and you're welcome to attend if you would like.
Put it on your calendars.
So next, I will entertain a motion that we go into closed session.
Make a motion, we'll go into closed session.
Mr. Jones, is there a second to that?
Second.
Ms. Crawford seconds. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you.